It was an ordinary Wednesday afternoon at Riverside Heights High. Mr. Carson was halfway through a history lecture, his voice a steady drone, when the first pop echoed in the distance. I barely noticed it at first, mistaking it for a car backfiring or some kind of construction noise. Then came another pop, louder, sharper. Mr. Carson paused mid-sentence, his brow furrowing. My classmates exchanged confused glances. It wasn't until the third pop that the room grew tense. Before anyone could say a word, the school's PA system crackled. "Attention staff and students, this is a lockdown. This is not a drill. Please follow lockdown procedures immediately." The atmosphere shifted in an instant. Chairs scraped against the floor as everyone scrambled to follow protocol. Mr. Carson's usual calm demeanor vanished. His hands were trembling as he locked the door, pulled down the blinds, and switched off the lights. "Under the desks now," he whispered, his voice tight, "and stay quiet." We crouched in the shadows, the room suddenly feeling suffocatingly small. Emily, sitting next to me, was biting her nails, her eyes already glistening with tears. Across the room, Jake, the class clown, sat stiff and pale, a stark contrast to his usual cocky grin. Then, from the distance, we heard it. Gunshots. They were louder now, sharper, and far too close for comfort. Someone outside the building was yelling, though their words were muffled. My heart pounded as I crouched low, trying to blend into the shadows under my desk. I wanted to disappear, but my curiosity got the better of me. I leaned forward, just enough to peek through the narrow gap in the blinds. In the parking lot, 4 men in black masks moved frantically. One was holding a rifle, barking orders, while another smashed the window of a car with the butt of his gun. Their van, a beat-up white vehicle, sat nearby with a shredded front tire, smoke billowing from under the hood. It didn't take long to piece it together. These were bank robbers, and their getaway vehicle was useless. I felt my stomach twist. They weren't just outside the school, they were looking for a new car. And they were desperate. Suddenly, one of the men, tall and broad-shouldered, turned toward the building. My breath caught in my throat as his masked face seemed to zero in on the window. I ducked down, pressing my back against the wall. Seconds passed and I couldn't resist. I peeked again. The tall man was standing directly in front of our classroom now, his gaze fixed on the slight gap in the blinds. I froze. He tilted his head slowly, as if he knew someone was watching him. Then he raised his empty hands, forming them into the shape of a gun. I watched in horror as he pointed his finger gun straight at me and mimicked pulling the trigger. Click! I ducked instantly, my heart hammering in my chest. A second later, I heard it, a low, guttural laugh that sent chills down my spine. He knew I was watching him. Minutes dragged by like hours. The gunshots stopped, replaced by the sound of boots crunching on pavement. Then came the faint creak of the school's front doors. They were inside. The heavy thud of their footsteps echoed down the hallway, growing louder with every step. Emily clutched her knees, her face buried in them as silent sobs shook her body. Jake looked like he might bolt any second, his leg bouncing uncontrollably. The footsteps paused outside our door. The doorknob rattled once, then again, as if someone was testing it. I held my breath, my palms clammy against the cold tile floor. Mr. Carson motioned for us to stay silent, his face pale but resolute. After what felt like an eternity, the footsteps moved on. We exhaled as one, but the fear lingered. It wasn't over. From my spot under the desk, I glanced toward the window. The men had returned to the parking lot. They had found an old sedan, its engine sputtering as they piled in. The wail of police sirens grew louder, and in a panicked rush, the robbers sped off, leaving shattered glass and chaos in their wake. When the lockdown was lifted, the school was flooded with police. The parking lot was a mess, broken windows, abandoned backpacks, and deep tire marks. But it was the scrap of paper they found near the window that chilled me to my core. One of the officers showed it to Mr. Carson, but I caught a glimpse. Scrawled in messy black ink were 3 simple words: "I saw you." That night I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the masked man staring at me, his hands forming that imaginary gun, his mocking laughter echoing in my head. The robbers were never caught. And sometimes late at night, I wonder if they'll come back. I wonder if he still remembers me. And worse, if he's watching me now.